Welcome to Talk the Frame, your destination to discuss movies, Hollywood news, and the occasional TV show. I'm your host, John Mugabe, making sure you never watch movies alone with new episodes releasing weekly. On today's pod, I'm talking to you about Will Gluck's One Night Only starring Monica Barbaro and Callum Turner. In the back half of this episode, we'll cover some Hollywood news, and I'll put my studio hat on to build the perfect modern rom-com. More coming after this. All right, we're in it. This is probably the last most exciting film I have for like a good while in 2026. We've gotten, the Odyssey, we've gotten Spider-Man Brand New Day. We have excited for the drama. And like there are some great things coming out. We get 2 IMAX releases this month, The Dog Stars and End of Oak Street. Those should be great, but nothing screams fun like a rom-com. And I was super excited to get this one starring Callum Turner following up his can't call it a breakout, but just like we liked him a lot in Eternity, and following up with here, Monica Barbaro. I remember seeing her earlier this year in Crime 101 opposite Chris Hemsworth. It was wonderful, and so I'm a huge fan of her, and I want to see both of these people thrive, and I want to see rom-coms thrive. So heading into this movie, I had not the utmost expectations, but I was incredibly excited, and it works. It works to having a good time, and I can't believe that the first reports for this movie were about like 53% on Rotten Tomatoes, because it's not bad. I think One Night Only, to start reviewing it, it is a premise movie. I mean, if you live in Iraq and you don't know, One Night Only is about what happens when you have to find love on the least romantic night of the year, because in this world, it's kind of Black Mirror-esque, the U.S. passed a law banning premarital sex for 364 days of the year. Actually, I wonder how that works on leap years. Probably 365 on leap years. The buzz heading into this movie is like, wants to be a classic rom-com, but it's The Purge, but make it a rom-com, or it's the Sex Purge movie. That's how the shorthand has been referred to on the internet. And while it's a good rom-com, not great, but like good, very fun, very relatable and attractive stars, a lot of people have been talking about, like it fails the premise. And the premise is not that bad. I think, however, the reason why we're not giving it the same grace we do a Black Mirror episode, because so much of the marketing or the word of mouth for this movie was people just asking, okay, well, how does this work? How is, like, what is this, the US? Is this set in modern times? Is it going to be set in the future? Like, what's the tone going to be? Because it's a pretty radical thing, but this is a matter of our current political times. There are people who are in government right now who would totally sign on to a bill like this, to where you have to kind of responsibly engage in the storyline. And it was too interesting, and the movie kind of blinked. It didn't just say, deal with it and let's have fun. It consistently explained itself, and it did a really good job of explaining how, yes, the way they do it is they use data chips that are normally red for single people on every single night of the year. Married people are excluded. Apparently, the gays have a workaround that the dopamine detectors can't will function. There's a really good cameo with Nicholas Braun where he breaks down the lore, and it's not like in the beginning. In the beginning, all we get is a title text saying 3 years ago, everything changed. The law was passed, and now we're here. And we start the movie with Callum Turner's character and his perspective. It takes a while for us to even meet Monica Barbaro, but like we get into this movie, and time and time again, it decides to explain the premise to you. We got to explain how this works. There's a government official who talks on some news network discussing exactly, kind of an insert a J.D. Vance, Ted Cruz-esque figure of just like a douchey politician who is just completely out of touch with the people. And for me, I was able to pick up on all the rules and how it worked out. There's an article that's coming out in Vulture that's just deriding how bleak this movie is. And I think there are a lot of people who will not be able to move past just how bleak that premise looks. And I was able to do it. I wanted to do it because I wanted to have fun with this movie. And it's not your fault for not being able to move past it, but the premise was just too interesting. And like, we talked about it too much to ignore it, and so some people weren't able to have fun, but not me though. Especially when you're bringing in great cameos like Molly Ringwald, LeVar Burton, I talked about Nicholas Braun, Jay Ellis, Look Let's Move, the redhead from Please Don't Destroy. There's also a couple big name cameos who I won't spoil. Spoilers going on moving forward. And it's just like a really fun, like Molly Ringwald, she really does work as that mom character. It's great. I'm happy to see her. She brings this brightness to the role, and she and LeVar Burton get up to some things where you just, in Callum Turner's POV, you just shudder, and it's like, this is hilarious. And all the cameos are very fun, but also the characters who aren't necessarily big name actors. There's an actress who plays Allie. The main character, Monica Barbaro's name is Allie, and Callum Turner's name is Owen in this movie. But Allie's roommate is played, I can't even remember who, but just an amazing actress. And there's a kid who's apparently being babysat on this night because people are willing to pay up to $5,000 to be able to get a babysitter for this night, single mothers apparently. So it's like, who just steals the show every single scene that he's in, and he's like consistently hitting with humor. And it's like, if you have a little brother, if you know a little kid who just like, what is wrong with the youths, this movie will definitely speak to you. And this movie picks up the pace. It gets started at its own pace. It's not necessarily coming out the gate with like incredible stuff, but we get some good sequences, like the singles event. That's where most of these cameos I talked about come from, where Monica Barbaro, there's like a singles meetup situation. Incredibly relatable to people in their 20s and 30s who, like, I think I'm going to my first meetup in a couple Saturdays from now. And it's just a matter where it's like, why would anyone want to be there? I think that's one of the best tropes in romantic movies, where anyone who shows up to a meetup, the meetup's not going to help you at all. And it's really sad, but it's done in a really funny way. We understand the economics of the one night. Something really interesting this movie does, and I want to know if they release the marketing profits. I know movies like F1 got a lot of money from marketing. A movie like Spider-Man Brand New Day, I think they may have hit definitely over 100 million, but it could be even incredibly northwards of that. So as a lot of this real world marketing, integrating it within their plots and their sets, this movie has a lot of companies who have in world latched on to the one night. And so there's condom companies and there's big companies that we would see in a real life who are all just hopping on this trend marketing. So hopefully, I know it had a pretty like weak box office, 5.7 million, but hopefully they got some of that cash back with all the marketing got in this movie. But it's a really fun way. And the movie really not only works, there's a lot of good stuff going on. Will Gluck is a steady hand to like produce a movie like this, but Monica and Callum Turner have this really incredible chemistry. I mean, they're beautiful. Monica Barbaro is cute. Mr. Dua Lipa is like, I hate him. That's how cool he is. Like, crap. Could he beat James Bond? Like, they're both winning so hard right now. And their chemistry, they're able to be rivals in a very cute way. They're able to be incredibly impassioned with each other. And there's a scene in the first sequence where it really starts to take off, is where they have to, because of the economics of this world, every single condom in New York is sold out. After another surprise cameo, Callum Turner has to find one to be able to use it as one night, because also on this one night, apparently they could tell whether you're using a condom or not, and you're supposed to use that. And they will enforce it. We do spend a scene in a police station with them discussing where they're truly enforcing this rule, and we see it. They will send cop cars to your house. It's ridiculous. But our leads end up having to steal a condom from a store, and it just like works. It just works. You see sparks flying. I was incredibly just tapped into that. And after that, it goes in probably the two funniest sequences of the film, where Callum Turner gets up to some stuff in Brooklyn Bridge Park, and Monica Barbaro has a really interesting first night experience. It's great. But just some of the craft of this movie is also really stellar as well. The use of music, we actually meet Monica Barbaro's character. She's doing this really corny in-universe rendition of Sarah Bareilles' Brave, which, great song. Great song. Was it in the movie Brave? Is that what she wrote it for? No, it probably wasn't, but it's a great song. Sarah Bareilles, she also has a love song. Like, I'm in the know. I listen to Fiona Apple. I'm locked in. But we also get a cover of Only You. Like, it just uses music. It has a good soundtrack. I mean, even the playlist. You had the Dopamine song. You had the Haim sisters song. I mean, so this movie, if you're a music head, you're going to enjoy it. A lot of these movies, like, yeah, there are plenty of needle drops, and this one doesn't rely on them. We don't get any Supergirl 2026 needle drop, but I will say the use of music in this movie is always a pleasant addition. It's a really strong New York movie. We're shooting on location. I recently gone to New York, and this is the first time as someone who's like never lived there, where I'm able to recognize locations, and it's so gratifying. Yeah, everyone needs to start shooting on location. How much does it cost? I can't afford that for you, but like do it. Hopefully the streets come out and support you because this movie feels real. It's pretty well shot. I don't think there was a single sequence where I'm like, oh, this is green screen. So everything feels very tactile. There's a set for the pizza shop that's really all over all the marketing. It's called Claremont in the movie. I don't know necessarily which store it's based off of, but apparently it's based off of it's retitled, but it's a remake of a real pizza shop in New York. And we spent a lot of time in there, and it's gratifying to just know, like, yeah, this feels real. There's an elderly couple who ends up taking over the pizza store so that Callum Turner can go out and get his bone on, and him and all the rest of his co-workers who are single, and you feel comfortable. You feel comfortable just knowing there's a realness, there's a feet on the ground element to this movie that it sets it up to be in touch. But the biggest flaw of this movie is that it falls just out of touch because it has one of the most Marshawn Lynch at the 2-yard line endings I have seen in movie history. First of all, this movie addresses one of my favorite tropes. I love a one night in the city trope. Just finished watching Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. I love it. Like the peak of this might be After Hours. There's so many good movies, and it's a good way to get a city movie going. You got a little Odyssey elements going on there. It's a great trope. And this movie does it well. And this movie goes for, I think the night starts from 7 o'clock and it goes until, I believe, 7 a.m. So 12 hours. And we get a countdown clock that's shown on top of taxis, buildings, like anywhere where there's a screen. The movie will remind you as you're moving along, even though the time we're spending at these places, not realistic at all. But you just have fun and you just want to play along. But the movie ends. Mind you, this is a movie where the federal government has outlawed sex between unmarried people. And in the audience, we are currently asked to root for these people. The movie phrases it to where they're looking for love. They're looking for romance. They're above just finding someone to shack up with the night. And undeniably, they found love. And at the end, they're in the lighthouse, and Callum Turner, because the way it's set up in the movie, Monica Barbaro's Allie character is the one who's the most honest about she's looking for love. She has standards for tonight. She wants a connection first. And Callum Turner, he's in it for more base reasons. And we get to the end and they're making out. It's dope. We're in the lighthouse. And then they say a couple of things, but they say, let's not let the mandate win. And in this world, not letting the mandate win means they're not gonna bone for another 364 days. My entire theater, there's like a collective groan. I felt like that guy in the Girl Next Door movie.
God damn it, Matt. I swear to God, if you don't fuck her, I'll kill myself.
How do you do that? How do you set up a movie? We're seeing them on the one night. We don't get much experience of what they're doing within the 3 years. However, they basically co-sign. Someone says at one point in the movie, let's let the fascist win. Or like, there are too many instances within this movie where they're like, well, there's benefits from this, where it's like, hey, shut up, get out, lock yourself in the closet. That's not what we came here for. Like, we came here to see people fall in love and bone. And we don't get that. And we're going to talk more later about how me and what this says about my Gen Z generation, the sexless generation. But it was like, what are we doing? So the movie ends and there's a follow-up scene after that that kind of bridges the gap. But I will say, I think the ending was set up because there's a scene, which feels like a throwaway line, but I guess they followed up on it. There's a line in the first act where we meet Allie's character and her friend says, oh, she hallucinates often. And we hallucinate some guy who apparently like ghosted her a year ago. We are in this pizza shop and we get to the decision scene. Callum Turner gets called by his girlfriend, who he was apparently going to propose to tonight. And it's up to Monica Barbaro to say, okay, do you say don't go? Do you say like, hey, we found something real, let's commit to each other, like I like you, I want to fight for you? And we get a scene which plays very, and I was crossed over. I had no idea it was a hallucination. I had completely forgotten. And that's the world where they have sex on this one night. And once we do that, the movie has, one, already given us what we're looking for. Two, completely set up the fact that Callum Turner is looking to Monica Barbaro's character to say, like, okay, you could keep me from coming back to my girlfriend, who chooses a very interesting person to cheat on him with this one night. And then Monica Barbaro is obviously in love with him. She likes him. So the night ends, and we're just in a place as an audience where we're just waiting for them to connect again. It's not we're desiring. It's not like we're anticipating. We're waiting for them to, because the moment already passed. We're just waiting because the movie doesn't have any more hits to make. They try to do this super romantic scene where Callum Turner is yelling at the porch of this multiplex, but it doesn't land. Like the movie should have ended with that pizza diner scene. It doesn't. And it just kind of takes the air out. And the only way the movie can inject some nuance or something interesting is with that final twist. And it's a twist that gets undone in like 3 minutes when we do it, because you just do a time jump to a year later. But that I feel like is what set up this movie for its truly disastrous, like not controversial, disastrous ending. But I still had a great and fun time with this movie. It's a good New York movie. I'm never going to deny that. It's something that like girls' night, watch it. It's a good date. It's very interesting. It doesn't execute its premise perfectly, but this movie, very worthwhile watch. Support this movie. It's great. I think some interesting things that are coming out of this movie. Every single time I see a Theo James project, Gentleman Season 2, dropping in about a month. Let's go. Callum Turner, or I mean, who else is in the running? But the guys who are in the running. Every single time I see a Bond name, oh, Aaron Taylor Johnson, I'm like, okay, this is your Bond audition. We're gonna see if, one, you're a movie star, if you got it like that, and also if your acting prowess is there. In terms of box office numbers, we've already talked about it. It's tracking to do a 5.7 domestic, which wasn't necessarily great, but Callum Turner has proven that he's a good actor. But I think in his most recent roles, he's played the square, I think, a couple too many times. Eternity, he's the guy who doesn't get the girl. He's the guy who's, yeah, he's attractive, but where's the depth? And in this one, he's just asked to be this Ted Mosby-esque, like, hopeless romantic who, like, woe is me character. But I don't think this helps him in his aspirations to become James Bond. He just doesn't show enough for me in this movie. I'm rooting for him, but also I'm rooting for Theo James. Let's be for real. And I think it's going to be interesting to see what type of projects he does moving forward and what type of residence he occupies in Hollywood. He hasn't played necessarily many ambitious parts. He's playing very much so crowd pleasers, and the crowd pleasers Eternity worked out very well. One Night Only, not so well. But if he continues in this stretch of career, say like, yeah, I'm a leading man, which I think he hasn't been given enough great scripts to me to say otherwise. Like, I think he has a quality that, give him a right director, give him a great script, and he might be able to take off with it. I'm a little bit higher at Callum Turner, probably the most will be, but it's not great for Bond. It's not great for Bond. The most interesting thing to happen this weekend, it's not a box office number, it's not a press tour segment, it's an article, a lot of articles about this movie, but Will Gluck essentially says, he went viral for saying, yeah, like there were plenty of like nudity scenes that we took out of this movie because Gen Z doesn't like sex in movies. They don't want to see it. And this is the actual quote he uses. It says, 100% true that Gen Z doesn't want to see sex on screen. I went through this on 2 movies. I have long pages of empirical data about it. I believe it's been a societal shift. This conversation has been talked about ad nauseum. We just had a movie that very directly talks about this issue with I Want Your Sex by Greg Araki. And it's interesting. I think this movie's steamy. It gets steamy. People get it on. People are getting it on in the background. People are getting it on in the foreground multiple times. And I don't think we get like there, but I don't know. Is that a reason why these rom-coms are working? Because this movie kind of leans itself to like, we are all waiting for consummation. not to use 18th century lingo, but we kind of are. We're like, yes, let's go. We're there. I'm rooting for this couple. And because it's so blatantly in your face, like this movie's about sex. And so if you're watching this movie and you're expecting something else, it's probably the right decision. He knows it. I mean, anyone but you definitely was more raunchy than this one. But there's a line between Drake's 20v1 being an utter horn dog and just wanting directors to have that artistic freedom to be able to depict life as they've experienced it, as they consider it in movies. We've had movies that have been quote unquote we are so back of like sex in theaters. Sinners was a huge one. It was an incredibly horny movie. Very desire was a huge element of it. We get the infamous Haley Steinfeld scene, but even that's incredibly tame. And I think Hollywood has a little bit of a trickle down effect to where when your leads, like, are with the best directors, the biggest people are getting the biggest checks are Martin Scorsese, who's doing very not risque, but is completely unabashed to have sexual plot lines or elements within his movies. And there's a trickle down, and maybe you'll see more. I personally think that when the biggest name in Hollywood, Christopher Nolan, isn't really that interested, like Oppenheimer excluded, but even Oppenheimer, it was kind of like painter's nudity. Like it was just there. There was no like heat or steam behind it. So I wonder if that's something that's just people taking downstream of like the biggest directors, the people in the industry apparently consider the Russos to be the bigger directors. And the ones that have been making the hits that have been working, the MCU's incredibly sexless franchise. And if those are the things that work, then we're going to see a very intense trickle down effect about that. So I think that's where we are. I don't know. I'm not going to be the one to say we need to change it because I got a reputation to maintain. I'm not a horn dog. All right. I could live like this, but apparently there are people who can't. And I want everyone to be happy. I want everyone to be free. I want everybody to see what they want to see when they go to theaters in the most diplomatic way possible. Let them have it. In the aftermath of the technical unsuccess of One Night Only, the question I'm asking myself is, what do rom-coms need in 2026? I think the two biggest rom-coms to pierce the cultural veil are Anyone But You and probably this movie, both coming from Will Gluck. I don't know, maybe I'm forgetting something big, but I feel like I'm forgetting something big. But I think those are the two ones that are huge. And what you see is that, one, it feels like rom-coms are now just movie star validation checks. Like, if you're not, Eternity was a good rom-com. This is where movie stars prove their mettle. Now, I'll say the drama is not included in this. That is not a romance movie. That is way too sad. It is way too sad. It is a good drama. It's romantic drama, but heavy on the drama, light on the romance. And so I think this is a field where our movie stars go. It's an inexpensive movie. It's something where it's like a diamond tester moment. It's like, hey, if you work, people will come out to watch your movie, right? People came out for Hitch, and it's a completely different movie-going economy at this moment, but great movie stars are able to generate this. Sydney Sweeney, whatever you want to say, she's a pretty great movie star, and she could generate a success. It's about, do people want to see you? And if people want to see you, then your movie will work. And I think in a movie like this, where the charisma's there, the plot, the interest, the intrigue is there, it's something where it kind of sucks that it seems that rom-coms are now only going to be occupied by movie stars. Are we going to discover anybody in rom-coms? I don't necessarily know. It's going to take some smart people to figure out exactly. I think you need successful movies, and you need to start stacking wins, and you need some directors who are able to apply their craft to these movies and make them work. We have some great directors operating, and we're going to get into that a little bit later. And then the question is, like, are premise movies what we want moving forward? This is a very strong premise movie. It's all about the premise. Is that what we want? I think this proves that we don't. This proves that the premise, while it can generate a lot of intrigue, we maybe need a little bit more. Maybe we need a little bit more to be able to actually put butts in seats. But I was excited for this movie, and it was good. One Night Only was definitely a great experience to have, but we have perfected the cocktail about how to make a rom-com successful, and how in the evolving wheel of Hollywood movies, we're going to be able to push past the classics and be able to make this a more sustainable genre of movie making, because you're not going to get a Nancy Myers again. And so we got to figure out how we're going to move forward. So I've taken it upon myself to put on my movie studio hat and cook up a perfect rom-com. We have a couple of categories where I, with no budget and infinite money, am going to choose an artful yet box office success inspired rom-com. So we have director, we're going trope, we have city. I think cities are incredibly essential to a successful rom-com. We need our star pairing, who our leads will be. And then we need our best friends. And if some studio head sees this and wants to run with it, I'll send you my email. So my director, I think the perfect person who is set to tackle a rom-com is actually the director who's probably most exclusively interested in romance. And she's been moving towards a lighter and lighter genre of romance. And that is none other than Celine Song. She came into our lives in 2023. She had been a playwright beforehand, but Past Lives, the Best Picture nominated film, incredibly devastated film, but incredibly obsessed, very well written, obsessed with love. And like, there's some great, I think if Past Lives written in English, is like spoken, is like has more English scenes, there are going to be like quotables that people continue quoting for like months and years on end, because it was just that expertly written, a screenplay. And then she pivots over, not pivots, but she shifts over to a more mainstream. She gets Pedro Pascal, Chris Evans, Dakota Johnson, Materialist, and that works. It's a movie that works. And I think if she's ready to play up the comedy a little bit more, she could do a great rom-com. And her name, I don't think she's sold out yet. Like, she's still associated with quality and pioneering movie making. I think she's, one or two films away from being in that conversation alongside Greta Gerwig, of Sofia Coppola, Olivia Wilde, about like just renowned female directors who put butts in seats. I'm very excited for her to move forward in her career, but she could tackle a rom-com because it's going to be real. It's going to have strong moments. And I just think the way she was able to shoot New York City 2 times. Now, this is going to be a New York City movie, and we'll see. But the way she's been able to shoot New York City 2 times in just incredibly beautiful sequences. We have the bar scene in Past Lives that opens and comes back again in the third act of the movie. And then we have, I think, the restaurant scene, the dinner scene with Dakota Johnson and Pedro Pascal as they're falling in love with each other. Or quote unquote falling in love with each other. She and her filmmaking crew and like the way she's able to shoot these stories is beautiful. I think she'll draw people in. The trope, don't spend much time on this, enemies to lovers. When Harry Met Sally. I mean, really, that's the key of rom-coms, like rivals to lovers. Like, if there's something else getting in the way, it's just a romance movie. It's just The Notebook. But that's what we're going with, enemies to lovers. And then the city, going with Seattle. I think we need another Seattle movie. I think New York's getting a lot of love, but there are other beautiful United States cities. Another one would be San Francisco. Another one could be Boston. There are other cities, not many. Let's just say, like, in terms of shooting film and having like great sequences walking through the streets and be believable, it's not many, but I do think, especially if you set in Seattle, you could have a date that goes out into some of the national parks around it, go into the water. It would be beautiful. It would be great. But with much ado, we're going to go into our star pairing. Here's who I need to see in a rom-com within the next 5 years, or in my movie, with our male lead, Josh O'Connor. Josh O'Connor is building up a repertoire, and his card hasn't been declining much recently in Hollywood. His biggest strength is that he could be both hateable and incredibly adorable. We see him be hateable and just like the worst when he plays Prince Edward in The Crown. I believe it's Prince Edward in The Crown. And he has the iconic, I hug who I love, Camilla. That is who I love. It's amazing. It's funny. It's not funny, but it's incredibly like tense. And he's a great actor. I mean, he was great in Challengers. I think he was probably I mean, calendars, everyone's firing all cylinders. He's an amazing standout, that movie. The way he could shift between hateable, but also he's been adorable in Knives Out, the most recent one that came out. Like, we are going to follow him wherever he goes. And I think if you put him in a rom-com setting, something will blossom. He's like has that rugged handsomeness that people will still be able to fawn over him. And I think it'll be great. My female lead, Elle Fanning. I mean, we already know she's ridiculously cute, and she's gonna be the one of this pair who has the stronger comedy chops. Thinking of her most recent show, Margot's Got Money Troubles, but also shout out to my fans of The Great, Let's Stand Up. I mean, she can do comedy. And I think if you pair those two leads across each other in a rom-com setting, it's going to print money. I think it would be really exciting just to see like Elle Fanning. She also has that tenderness that we saw in Sentimental Value, where she has this incredibly difficult task where she has to play the role of an actor who's not right for a role. And that's an incredibly significant plot line of the movie. It's great. And I think if you put those two stars who are ascending at pretty similar timelines, it could take off. It could take off and do great things. So every rom-com, you need your set of friends for the guy and set of friends or supporting characters for the female character. In One Night Only, for Callum Turner's character, we had Molly Ringwald and LeVar Burton, and they get to crazy stuff. But like this is the image of LeVar Burton coming out of your mom's bedroom being like, "Hey buddy, don't even." And that scene happens verbatim in the movie. It's hilarious. But for our guy supporting cast, we got to go with comedy exception out, Phoebe Waller-Bridges. Amazing. Stop it there. She was actually really great in her cameo in last year's Big Bold Beautiful Journey. I think she needs to start building that character actor where like, oh, she's in this movie and this movie. I would hope she like takes that turn in her career where she's just everywhere possible, because she's a really defining voice in Hollywood. We could always recognize her when she's there, and she will be playing Josh O'Connor's older sister. And for her husband is going to be, because you always need the older sister who's already found love and just like the wise sage conferring wisdom. Husband's going to be Michael Cera. I want to figure out why Hollywood hasn't figured out why we haven't put these two actors across each other in a movie, in a story yet. I think it would be fireworks. I think it would be unhinged comedy. It would be the best thing in the world, and you see that. So that's my best friends for the guy side. And on the gal side, we're going to go skew a little younger it's going to be her roommates, and it'll be none other than Kiernan Shipka. She's coming off of some pretty nice roles. She's been in industry. She also led HBO Max. I think it just went straight to streaming, Sweethearts, which is a rom-com of its own. But that's like a coming-of-age rom-com. And then you get her cameo in the incredibly still terrifying Long Legs. She's a great actress. I think we've seen her on screen for so long that she's going through this transitional phase of her career. She's a notable child actress. So I think sometimes what happens that there's a period of time where they kind of go under the radar, and I'm just waiting for a director to discover her, put her in a premier role in a story, and where she just explodes and hopefully proves that she was one of the biggest stars in waiting in Hollywood. She has the chops. And then I just watched Why Not Your Sex, and this guy was amazing in it. Mason Gooding as, unfortunately, the gay roommate. He doesn't have to be gay. He could just be the roommate. Like, it's 2026. We're here. We could have a co-ed. We had New Girl. So, as the roommate, no gay, no qualification on it. Mason Gooding as the roommate. I think he's amazing. He has this great charisma, and I just want to see him in more movies. That's my perfect rom-com. To wrap it up, director Celine Song, trope enemies to lovers, set in the city of Seattle. Our star pairing is Josh O'Connor, Elle Fanning, and our supporting cast, our best friend characters are Phoebe Waller-Bridges playing Josh O'Connor's older sister and her husband Michael Cera, And then we have Kieran Shipka and Mason Gooding as the roommates to Elle Fanning's character. I think this movie's going to print money. I just want to see all these people in movies. And if rom-coms just become the movie star genre where this is where we get our movie star check-ins, like they're pretty rather inexpensive movies that can make sure we don't go 3 years without seeing Miles Teller on our screens, I'm 1000% for that. And hopefully they could figure out how to make enough good ones of these that we get more and more and more good ones. In terms of Hollywood news, the movie star who's arguably having the best 2026, Robert Pattinson. The primetime trailer dropped, and we're all talking about it. It's amazing. It looks beautiful. Apparently it's based off of an article which I have not read yet, but I am just incredibly excited to see what Robert Pattinson does. He has this ability as a movie star, and maybe that's because he's played so many odd whack-ball characters and not so many iconic, like he's played Batman, but it's been a long time since he's played like a franchise role. And the way he's able to disappear, he's disappearing into another role. He's a superstar actor who gets character actor privileges. It's ridiculous. It's great. It's wonderful. I'm excited for prime time. And he's got like this isn't his last hit of 2026. This guy could finish this year with The Drama, The Odyssey, Prime Time, Dune Part 3. It's unfair. I'm so excited. I love how employed he is. Hopefully he takes a break and kind of juices up before his next role. But which will be the Batman 2028. I'm incredibly excited for this movie. And then in other news, we're getting a Crawl sequel. I think that was a really dope, just like cheap horror movie. And it's going to be starring Mason Gooding and Emily Rudd. So Crawl fans, we're up right now. But we're heading into the back nine of 2026. I'm super excited. We have some great movies coming out. Follow us. Come back to the pod next week for our episode on End of Oak Street. I'm super excited to see how this year of Anne Hathaway continues to just dominate and give us great movies. Her and Ewan McGregor are running away from dinosaurs, and it's going to be great, and hopefully it's dope. Feel free to follow us on socials, Talk the Frame Pod on Instagram and TikTok. And once again, I'm your host, John Mugabe, talking movies with you with Talk the Frame, and I'll see you next week.